Joe House is here. He has a quarterback. Jayden Daniels is in his life as a superstar in waiting. House is so excited. If you can't see on the video, he's in a hotel room. He just rented a hotel room. What is it? Just massages every day? What's going on? You just need to be rubbed?
I just wanted to be close to offensive greatness. I had the offensive greatness of Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels in my life. I know his name. I am on the campus of James Madison University at the moment because I wanted to be close to the former Holy Cross coach. What's his name?
Bob Chesney.
He dropped 70 on North Carolina last week.
Yeah. Why did we bet on that?
We've got nothing but offensive explosions surrounding us. And, there were some offensive explosions in my living room Monday night. Let there be no doubt.
Yeah. What were the texts like? You haven't had a lot of, oh my God, you must be so happy football texts in the last 20 years.
They're all of the same kind, which is not believing it, right? We had RG3, which was an incredible run in 2012, all the way up until, Daniel Snyder and his cheap ways put an end to RG3's career on that field. And then we did have a minute with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins did take the Washington team to the playoffs in 2015. I went to the game against.
Who can forget?
Who can forget?
Unbelievable.
But there was a minute there.
People are still talking about that.
This is a thing where, we got the right guy for the right situation at the right time. It happens so rarely in Washington, so it's wonderful.
I actually had dinner with two Washington fans on Tuesday night, and they were just so excited. Because it wasn't just a performance. There's been pieces about Daniels where the teammates, the way they're talking, I love this stuff. This is like my jam. The teammates being like, he's him. Like when we're following Jayden, this is the guy. Like when the guys on the team just start raving like that to reporters, something good's happening.
I mean, so I'm getting the same chills that I had Monday night because I did spend, hours with all of the breakdowns of that, the whole internet. Thank God it was the amazing convergence of events for that. And I'll stop in a second. It was a Monday night football game, the biggest stage. And, the the Bills beat the crap out of the Jags. So nobody was watching it. Everybody flipped right over to Washington. And that game was exciting because there was scoring on every goddamn possession. And so, the breakdown of the tape afterwards is like, when you go slow and watch the decisions he's making, when you go slow and watch the poise he's showing in the face of oncoming rushes, that's the stuff that put your hairs up properly.
Well, one of the games we're looking at is because we're gonna do $1 million picks, and we did well last week, and we'll get to that. But Cards Washington. Cards are favored by -3.5 in Arizona, and the Cardinals are a team that I've really liked. They're 1-2, but both losses were like good losses. Like they really hung with Buffalo. They really hung with Detroit. And this is the worst possible classic stereotypical bad spot for Washington. Coming off a late Monday Night Football game. Everyone's super excited about how they did. So they're riding high. Congratulations all week. Short week, cross country. And they have to play a team that has a good offense. And guess what? Guess who doesn't have a good defense? Washington. The stats are just awful. They're 32nd on third down. They're 30th on first down. 31st against the pass. 28th against the sacks. Like,
yeah, if you have that kind of defense, you better score on every offensive possession. You better not punt, because if you give the other team the ball, they're probably going to score.
Right, and the Bengals, all they did wrong was just not score a touchdown every time they had the ball, which they almost did.
Like literally one missed field goal, right? I know. Yeah, it was a 5-point game, but really it was, they had one missed field goal on one of those possessions.
Yeah, so no Eckler in this game, but McBride is questionable. But you guys were running the ball. Like Washington has the 5th best run offense right now, 7th yards per play, 5th on first down. Like good stuff was happening. The defense is bad, but I'm looking at that one, and I think we both like the over, and especially if we adjust it. And are you allowed to bet against Washington $1 million picks? Because I'm going to offer you an Arizona money line over 43.5, and that's -101 on FanDuel.
No, I think I'm a sober realist. Like for me, we've kind of got the validation for the whole year from the third game of the season. Like all I hope for with this Washington team is to hit the over of 6.5 wins.
Right.
That's the only thing that
Which
I really invested in. And so I'm like, fine. I bet on Tampa in week 1. I don't think that there's anything wrong with trying to make money. The money's still green.
What do you think about that over 43.5 with the Arizona money line?
Yeah, I do like that because one of my favorite bets from that game is Washington over 23.5 as its team total.
So it's basically the same bet to some degree because they probably had to score 24 to win that.
Yeah.
I like this Cardinals team. I was really impressed. I said it on Sunday. I was really impressed by their 2 losses. I thought they hung around. I don't think their defense is very good, and they'll probably give up points. I wanted to do the -3.5, but the cheap touchdown potential of the Commanders.
Sure.
The C words.
Yeah.
The commies. What are people calling them? The commies?
I don't know. No, nobody calls them the commies.
I
don't want to say
people call them? Washington?
They call them the Commanders.
The Redskins. He's not giving it up.
They call them the Commanders. What's his? Doesn't Kevin Durant call them the Manders?
The Manders?
I think he does. I think that's what Katie calls them.
That's pretty good. I don't mind that. So, all right, that's one I had. I'm giving you a couple that I had flagged as maybes.
I'm not going to talk you out of that. The only thing with that is, Arizona, you expect them to score quickly, so that's why the over is the angle. But I don't want to mess with the 50.5. I like it down in the low.
The 43.5 is nice. 44 points is 24 to 20, and you're hitting it.
Yeah.
Next one that I was on the fence with, and I think you like this more than me, but the Vikings at Green Bay, Vikings +3. And I think the reason this is a stay away for me is I see both sides on it. But the case for the Vikes, which I think you and I both, that was kind of our blink test of like, the Vikes. The way they played the last couple weeks. I mean, they're 3-0, but the last 2 weeks were just awesome wins. Last week was an absolute ass kicking in Houston. There's an Aaron Jones fuck you game.
Yes.
Possibly
there is.
Going back to Lambeau.
Like that.
I'm circling.
He's a bad MFer.
There's the Jordan Love coming back off of a knee injury that he's probably not 100% on, and Brian Flores just blitzing the shit out of him. And the Minnesota stats are nuts. They're first in sacks, second in QB hits, first in QB hurries, first in tackle losses. They're also the most confusing defense when you're watching on TV. They're showing this, they're showing that. This guy's up, this guy's hopping back. And there's a lot going on. And my concern would be if I'm backing Green Bay, this is a lot for Love to first game back. And then on the other piece of that, Green Bay beat Tennessee and Indianapolis. Congratulations.
I mean, both of those were with Malik Willis. And I want to countenance this possibility. It wouldn't shock me if Willis starts this game and plays the whole game. If they're doing the rope-a-dope with Love, right?
Ooh, interesting.
They want to make Flores try and prepare. And Flores has the experience, right? They played Green Bay twice. It's a division game, but 2 different styles of quarterbacking entirely, 2 different types of threats.
Right.
And so just adding that onto the Minnesota plate, because I think it's a dead even coaching matchup.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, these are probably 2 of the best 4 teams in the NFC. Green Bay's banged up. I didn't like that part. So here's the flip side. Sam Darnold on the road. There's a lot of Sam Darnold excitement right now. He started 3-0 in Carolina. This could be Sam Darnold's. Can everyone settle down on Sam Darnold game? Love killed Minnesota last year. He killed all this blitz shit. He's actually good at it, against it if he's healthy. And I think that's why this is ultimately a stay away for me, because I remember having Minnesota in that game last year with Josh Dobbs, and Love just murdered them. And I can't get that out of my head. Sometimes the right defense is just a nice matchup for a QB. So something about could we talk ourselves into a Vikings tease? We could. Are there better tease options? We'll get to that. But Vikings +3, I don't know. The line feels right. I ultimately might be a stay away for me. How about you?
Yeah, I'm on the side of the Vikings, but I understand all of your hesitation and reservation. And the real determining factor for me is the Green Bay quarterback situation, because they are either going to have a Jordan Love return, which is a tough situation, tough circumstance for all the reasons you just or it's going to be Willis up against Brian Flores, who, give him the time to properly prepare for it. So that's
that
why
I know I don't like. I'm just I'm going to raise my hands and congrats to Malik Willis, but that one I don't like because when you're watching that weird Packers offense they had the last 2 weeks, one of the things, and the teams they played just didn't have the personnel to do this, but just move everyone up and just attack the moment the ball snapped because everything is going to be kind of around the line of scrimmage. And I don't like their chances against Minnesota because that's what Minnesota does and that's what they are. Another thing with the Packers is I know this is a must-win game for the Vikings, but it's really not. Like they could lose this and it's fine. They have some injuries. It is
division
Green
games.
Bay.
These
It'd
division
be 3-1
games.
through 4. I know it's division game, but they'll be like, we'll get it. Like I know they want to win, but this isn't like Whereas if you're the Packers and Love's coming back, you kind of need this one, Yeah. So anyway,
okay,
they'd be 2-2, and they would have squandered their Minnesota home game. So not awesome. Next one. You have more Falcons Saints thoughts than I do. Falcons are now -2.5 at home against the Saints. This feels like a sucker line to me. Where
why?
What? So we're just off the Saints now because they couldn't block Jalen Carter? We're out?
Well, it wasn't just simply not blocking Jalen Carter. It was a blueprint of how to slow that offense down, a blueprint of how to take the run away. And they lost their center in that game. I mean, Jalen Carter, part of that Jalen Carter's success had to do with the injury to the Saints Pro Bowl center.
The O-line is not the same.
Right.
But guess what? Guess who also lost 2 offensive linemen last week?
Yes,
the Falcons.
True story. I know. They're both questionable at the moment. I don't know if they've been declared formally out. I just want to give props to Atlanta because they have impressed me. I mean, we were properly skeptical at the beginning of the season with them against Pittsburgh. We cashed that. That was a nice situation for us with Pittsburgh. Had them on the money line. And then what they showed against the Eagles and the Chiefs, like who has played that schedule in the first 3 weeks? And they were right. They had 2 one-score losses, a 1-score loss to the Steelers and a 1-score loss to the Chiefs.
The Steelers was a legit loss. They didn't deserve to win that game.
For sure.
Chiefs, they should have won.
Yeah, well, it's pass interference in the end zone. Ball on the 1, then you don't have to mess around with all the shenanigans, silliness of figuring out, 4th down plays. But I just think Atlanta, having seen that Philadelphia blueprint, we haven't really seen the Atlanta defense with the new personnel in full force. So I just think it's a decent matchup for them. I like Atlanta laying the points.
How about this? I hate myself if I bet either team and it's a stay away. What is the I'd hate myself either way game? If like, I'm going to take the Saints and then Carr sucks again. You're like, I hate myself. Like how I felt on Monday night with Trevor Lawrence.
There are a few
self-loathing. The self-loathing bet of the week.
There are some self-loathing bets on this board. I don't think this one is it, but we don't have to bet it. I'm just telling you my preference. I like it.
I got to say and I'm with you. I'm leaning to where you're leaning, but I feel like there's too many injuries on both sides. And
that's fine.
This division makes me nervous.
Sure.
How about this? Maybe you're just better off never betting on a division matchup in the NFC South. maybe that should be added to the gambling manifest up. Just stay away.
We got to be careful. Your 30 wins is in trouble.
Well, there's only going to be 1 win out of this one.
Yes, true story.
All right, so I'm leaning toward a stay away for that one.
Fine.
Leaning, I did say. So here's one I really need you to talk me out of before something bad happens. So maybe you won't be able to. The Bears, who are 0-3 and are laying 3 points to the Rams. And I'm looking at this going, kind of like the Bears. They're 32nd yards per play. They're 28th in QB hurries. They're 29th in sacks. But on the flip side, the Rams are 32nd in yards per play. They're 31st in QB hits, which is something the Chicago defense is, they've at least shown that. They have no Kupp, no Nakua. They're not top 14 basically in anything offensively but passing yards. And I just wonder, like, there's a world last week where they don't get that fake punt against the Niners and the Niners just beat them by 20 and we're like, holy shit, the Rams season's over.
Yeah.
And they stole it. They snuck it out. But now they're going to Chicago. They're outdoors. The Bears are 0-3. But the Bears,
no, the Bears are 1-2.
They were throwing the ball.
The Bears,
huh? Oh, you're right. The Bears are 1-2.
Yeah,
that's right.
They stole that game from Tennessee. Their defense won a game.
Right, but that almost felt like a loss. I was in my head. I was counting.
We had it as a loss.
Their offense was awful. Yeah, you're right. They're 1-2. But so you're going to talk me out of this? Please do.
The Bears are sticky poo poo. I mean, if you want to go ahead and get yourself in a position where you have to count on Coach Eberflus, who will be returned to his rightful place as a defensive coordinator or assistant soon enough. That is right around the corner. And Caleb Williams behind an offensive line, they improved their skill positions there in Chicago, but not the goddamn line. And that poor man continues to be at risk, and they can't do any of the things with their new toys on offense. They can't establish the run. That kid is running for his life on the pass. Now, here's the reason why.
But did you see the stats when he wasn't under duress? He was actually really good. Like, there were like great stats. If he just has 3 seconds, good stats.
Get him the 3 seconds. Now, this is the defense that,
That's what I'm saying.
You might be able to do that. This Rams
is the
team.
defense. The Rams. The Rams defense, 31st in QB hits, 32nd in yards per play.
It's a disaster of a secondary as well. The Rams, the Bears do have the best unit in the game. So if you want to make a bet on which team has the best unit, it's the Bears defense. And the Bears defense has won a football game already. They beat the Tennessee Titans. So that could be the roadmap, the blueprint.
You're talking yourself into this now.
I just don't want to have anything to do with it, because then you have to look in the mirror and say to yourself, I laid points against Sean McVay and Matt Stafford with
Matt Eber,
Flus the douche. I mean, you can't. Who's going to do that? Like, you can't. That's one.
Flus the douche.
What rhymes with Flus?
Well, here's one we're going to argue about. Oh, actually, no. Let's do this one. Let's get this out of the way. The Raiders are -1.5 against the Browns. I feel like there's not a lot of chances in our life left to fade Deshaun Watson with a bad offensive line. The Cleveland offense is bottom 3 in yards per play, QB hits, pass yards, sacks allowed, third down conversion, and I think unofficially most times a receiver has looked just bummed out and like they wanted this season to end and they wished it was week 18. But this Raiders team was dog shit last week, got carved up by Andy Dalton, got called out by their coach after the game. I just don't know how this feels like a perfect matchup for the Raiders. They're home. It's only 1.5. So I was leaning Raiders, but this violates my don't bet on 2 shitty teams rule.
Yeah.
So can we just say
detest
that and move
this
on?
game. I mean, like, we're not betting on Gardner Minshew D's nuts. We're not doing that. Minshew D's nuts, no way. Absolutely.
The Raiders
not.
can't run the ball.
I'm not sure that the Antonio Pierce motivational tactic is necessarily going to work with everybody in that locker room. It feels like that locker room could be right on edge. That's a phenomenal game to stay away from.
I want to know in 2024, where, let's be honest, people are a little more sensitive than maybe they were 30 years ago. Just being blasted by your coach, is that like a good strategy when your coach hasn't done jack shit? And this guy's just fucking gets the machine gun out and is just going after everybody.
We're in a moment now where you can get Devontae Adams. There's like a solo camera on him for the entirety of games. We get these phenomenal shots of that poor guy sitting on the bench holding his head. Poor Devontae.
And it's like,
get him out of there.
You didn't realize the Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell combo might not have been a good idea? Just realizing that now? All right, we'll stay away. 2 bad teams. Blah.
They do have a good defense, and if Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins go crazy, they could beat the crap out of the Browns.
But that's the problem. Max Crosby's not healthy, and Myles Garrett isn't healthy. I don't know who's healthy. We're doing this on a Thursday. Let's stay away.
Great point.
All right, now it's time to really argue, because I love the Lions this week, and I think you like the Seahawks a little bit. And that line is now Lions by 3.5 at home against Seattle, who is 3-0 and doing really well this season. and it's a team that we've ridden a couple times. I wish we rode them last week. That line is now, 3.5.
So let me hear your case.
Well, a couple things. Walker's still not 100%.
Good point.
Their two best guys on the D-line, including Murphy, they're awesome rookie. Both of those guys are hurt, and if they play, they're playing hurt, but they both have leg injuries, so that sounds great. Seattle played Denver and New England and the Skylar Thompson Miami group, and they barely beat New England, and honestly, New England should have beaten them. And Denver hung around in Bo Nix's first game when he was absolutely terrible. He has been much better since. The Lions, I still don't feel like have played an awesome game yet. We hit on them last week.
Really?
Well, just a lot of you see the pieces, but it's just they haven't.
Right.
It's a meal with a bunch of awesome things on the table, but it doesn't all make sense together.
Hook and ladder in the first half.
Right. I think this is the week. It's a night game. And it's the Seattle team that's playing with house money a little bit at 3-0, and you could talk yourself into, they'll be able to throw the ball, and Mike McDonald, don't give him a week to play in it. I just think the Lions are way better. And this line, I don't understand why it's not 6 if the Seahawks aren't healthy. On top of the fact that they can't block, and the Lions' defensive line has been awesome. So I really like the Lions, but I think you're leaning a little Seahawksy, right?
Well, and it all boils down to ultimately Jared Goff, who this season, if you look at, I have him right now in the advanced stats, his PFF grade, he's 29th thus far this season. His EPA numbers, expected points, per play stuff is horrendous. It has him in the company of Gardner Minshew and Jacoby Brissett and Bo Nix. That's where he is thus far this season. And
maybe he's due for a good game.
Well, here's the problem. They went up against a Tampa team that was missing its secondary. They went up against a Cardinals team that was supposed to be the worst defense in the NFL. And they started the season with the Rams, who, was a defense in transition, and we've seen, that teams can score against the Rams. We watched what the Cardinals did to the Rams. Now, the Rams defense, has injuries and all the rest of it, but 20 points in the regular time game against that Rams defense, 16 points against the injured Tampa defense, and then 20 points. All of the points for Detroit were in the first half. They didn't score in the second half, and that game swung on the inappropriately called back pick 6 that Jared Goff threw. The refs took that away. That game was close. I mean, Kyler Murray threw a pick in the second half that kept the Cardinals from really making it dangerous. But I'm just not going to do the Lions. That's all.
Counter. Detroit's run 151 plays in the last 2 weeks, and it's actually law of averages. They should be scoring more points. They shouldn't be doing dumb shit. There's 2 bad Goff passes. There's a 4th down play where they ran a stupid play. They've kind of been dominating these games. I'm
to the counter
in on the Lions.
No Ragnow. Ragnow's out. You're all
Ragnow
pro.
at the center.
No, Let's make this our argue game. We didn't have an argue game last week.
Yeah, but when we bet on the argue game, I was going to throw this at you. Detroit first half, Detroit game, parlay plus 100.
Okay. All right. So that I'm willing to do. I mean,
that takes care of the cheap touchdown from the Seahawks at the end. That they could just take the lead early. The Seahawks will be down 10. They'll all of a sudden lock it for 68 yards or DK Metcalf, and then it'll be Lions up by 3, sweating it out. But we'll have first half in the game, and we're ready to go. Yeah, they're at home. They should take a lead in the first half against the fucking Seahawks.
Your point is right. This is an enormous step up for Seattle's defense after they got to play against Bo Nix and Jacoby Brissett and Skylar Thompson, right? So there's real offensive weapons on this Lions team. Those guys all
suck. Although Bo Nix has been pretty good because
he had a great game against Tampa.
Guess what? We're about to talk him right now because he's getting too many points against the Jets. The Jets are 7.5 point favorites at home against the Broncos, and I don't really understand it because Denver's defense has been pretty good, and I really feel like they've put together a good game and a half. I said this said this last week on $1 Million Picks. We were talking about how Denver really looked good against Pittsburgh in the second half of that game. And then last week, they just played great. They beat up Tampa. We probably should have taken the underdog money line on that because I think both of us like Denver. You like Denver, you like the Giants. Both of those hit. So 7.5 just seems high because you can run on the Jets. I think you move the ball on the Jets in general. And even if this game's in double figures, I feel like they can get a cheap touchdown late. I also like they can throw Surtain on Garrett Wilson.
Yep. That's the case for sure.
And we get Sean Payton against Big Shot Bob Saleh.
The only reason so the look ahead was 7.5. So the number is consistent with what the look ahead is, and nothing's sort of changed over the course of the season. The problem is the situation for Denver, right? Second straight road game, rookie quarterback. The Jets have their second consecutive home game. They played 3 games in 11 days. They got that Thursday night game. They kicked ass. Now they got all the rest that they need, and they're home. Preparing for a rookie quarterback. So we're going to see this whether or not this Jets defense really can. They did perfectly fine against the one-dimensional Patriots.
You have to throw
with
out
those injuries. Okay,
couldn't block
that's fine.
Thursday night. The Pats go down by 10. They can't beat anybody, and it was just one of those games. I'm no lessons learned from that one.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, I agree with you. 7.5. Is crazy, and also like this is the season. Hello, the 5.5 points or more. The underdog now is 14-2. The underdog has won 10 of those games outright. 10-6. The dogs are in those circumstances. So anytime you see anything over 5.5, it's like better be careful because it's the way the season's been.
It's a fun pick too. It's a fun one to root for. You have the cheap touchdown at the end potentially, but I think Bo Nix has looked. I thought he was really good last week in that Tampa game. Like and I know Tampa's secondary is a disaster, and I get it. But he was really good in that game.
The part of the thing that you're hearing out of New York is that Hackett and Rodgers really want to stick it to Peyton. They really want to stick it to Sean. This is because they didn't get the chance last year when they played. And so they're going to try and run it up. But Sean Payton is kind of the smartest guy in the room when you would have put all those guys together.
Right.
It's kind of fun. I don't want to make a big investment in it because I could see a scenario under which the Jets.
Well, we could also stay away.
Yeah, because that would be my inclination. But I like where you're going.
The thing I don't like about it from a Denver side is, like, if I'm beat the Jets, I'm going to pound the run, right? And I'm just going to try to keep the ball away from Rodgers. But the Broncos haven't really run the ball that well.
No.
And as anyone knows who has Javonte Williams on their fantasy team. But all right, so maybe I won't put that in bold, but I'm going to include that on the list. So then Eagles Bucks, where sadly the hurricane's hitting as we're taping this, but we just learned over the years, like those just become automatic stayaways, those games. I actually like that matchup for the Eagles, but we don't even know if they're going to be playing that game, and I hope everybody's safe there. But I think that's a cross-off for us, right?
Yeah, let's stay away from it. There was injuries on both sides, too. Yeah, they create all kinds of uncertainty.
Stay away. All right, so the big ones. So really the only ones we have so far, Cards money line with the over 43.5, Detroit first half game plus 100. I'm going to take out the Broncos. My favorite bet of the week, and I hope you agree, is the Steelers in Indianapolis minus 1.5. They've been incredibly good to us on $1 Million Picks week after week after week. Buckner's out for the Colts. There's going to be a lot of Pittsburgh fans there. Indy's defense is just a flat out atrocity. They're 31st against the run, 28th on third down, 32nd on first downs allowed, 26th on yards per play. Their offense isn't much more awesome either. 27th on first down, 28th turnover, 24th pass, but most important, throw the stats out. Anthony Richardson's all over the place, and he's going against the best defense in the league. Pittsburgh, first in red zone efficiency, first and third downs allowed, first and first down, second against the run, third in yards per play. This is seventh in QB hits. This is the best defense in the league, and they're first in points. I mistakenly said 16 on Sunday night. It's 26 points allowed this year. I just think the defense wins the game single-handedly. I was trying to figure out ways to get fucked on this. And it's really just Richardson doing those 2 long 55-yard bombs where it's like they have 8 first downs, but somehow have 2 touchdowns. So I'm just acknowledging that. But I think this is the game where they let Fields cook a little bit, let him throw in this crap Colts defense. I have no idea how the Colts won last week. I don't think they're good. And I think the Steelers are really good. They kind of need this game. They need to go like 7-1 in these first 8. I can't believe the line's only 1.5. I don't get it.
So here are the cautions that I'll offer. In the first place, the Colts have an incredible offensive line thus far this season. They're first in the NFL in both pass and run blocking, according to PFF. Another thing, the Steelers defense, yes, awesome. But Kirk Cousins in his first game off of the Achilles, completely immobile. Bo Nix in his second career start in the National Football League. Half of Justin Herbert, they
knocked his ass out. Give them credit for that. They sent him to the sideline.
He was already, immobile, and they completed the job. The other sort of aspect of caution is just historically, Mike Tomlin is much better in the dog spot as opposed to a favorite. He's the only 45% as a road favorite in his career against the spread, 33-40 and 2. The reason that I think I'm inclined to join you on the Steelers is because I don't think that we've really seen Justin Fields yet. Like I've long been in the camp of Fields. I had Fields on my fantasy team last year, and I will tell you, in our keeper league, I gave serious thought to keeping him for $1 or whatever it is plus the escalator,
hoping that he's going to play
upcoming season, even though Russell Wilson had been declared the starter, because the Fields upside, we haven't really scratched the surface. They really haven't done any design runs for him, and this could be the week. The pathway for the Colts to beat Pittsburgh is to try and give Pittsburgh a dose of its own medicine, kind of like what we expected last week out of the Chargers, which is just try and run the ball, try and squeeze the life out of the game, try and play a game that's only 2 hours and 45 minutes because we're just running. Right. Jonathan Taylor left, Jonathan Taylor right. But Fields, to me, is the wild card. And at 1.5 points, I mean, here's the thing that I also am willing to countenance. Steichen's good. I mean,
Steichen's good, but he also has some of the dumbest big plays of the game calls of anyone.
Well, they trust Richardson. That's the problem they have, is they trust Anthony Richardson.
This is a bad defense for him to play in his 4th start of the season, and
I'm with you.
His 6th start ever.
Right. In his whole career.
I really believe in the Steelers team. I think they're good. The question for me is, could this be the game where Fields just sucks? Like he sucked a bunch of times against the Bears? Sure. But against this Colts defense, why would this be the game that he falls apart? They can't do anything.
I love this version of the Steelers where it's apparent that they are treating every one of these early season games, early games on the schedule as absolute must wins. They have to get all these wins before they get to the portion of the schedule where they have all those division games and other super talented teams at the back half of their schedule. So
here's the other thing:
the pedal is down.
The Browns are going to suck. The Bengals are 0-3. The Ravens are playing the Bills and could be 1-3 after Sunday, and the Steelers could be 4-0. They could have a 3-game lead in the AFC North.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They've been really good to us, and I'm still in on them.
Me too.
Okay. 2 more. Ravens Bills.
Okay.
See, unfortunately, I heard East Coast bias today, and I know where you're leaning on this, but I think we're seeing it the same way. Look, Ravens minus 2.5 against the Bills. Why isn't that line lower? Why isn't that line a pick 'em? The Josh Allen's just looks like he's the best player in the league. The Bills have looked great. They're going to be able to throw on the Ravens. They're getting a pass rush this year, which none of us expected. They figured out some sort of secondary thing. There's some Ewing theory with Stephon Diggs, even though never won a title with him. The tease is just so tantalizing here. This feels like a 1-score game to me, and I'm not positive who's going to win. There's that. If it's Bills plus up all the way to plus 8.5, Ravens could be in double digits. Well, we know what happens when they go up double digits to put the game on a platter for the other team. The Bills might be able to win, and it allows us to tease with the next game we're going to talk about. But Bills plus 8.5, does that make your nipples hard?
I absolutely love it. It's not Jayden Daniels zipper zone quite, but it is. It's way up there. I absolutely adore the Bills as a teaser leg this week. I think the back door is extremely open with this Ravens team. It is a wide open backdoor situation. I'll just leave it at that. I could take this much deeper, but I won't.
You haven't had nearly enough drinks.
I have not.
Baltimore's defense, 28th in first downs, 32nd in pass.
It's like it's all in the last 10 minutes of the fourth quarter, too.
Yeah, because it's all when the other team realizes, like, why the fuck aren't we just passing every down? They can't stop anything. And something about Josh this year, and the shout out to the Cuz. That was his Super Bowl pick. I thought it was. I really battled on them back and forth, and I ended up giving that AFC spot to the Jets because I really wanted to work the Jaguars into the playoffs, and I gave the Jaguars the Buffalo playoff spot. And I think I did pretty well with the futures so far, but that was, I think, by far my biggest mistake. There was a case for the Bills. There was a case against the Bills, and the case against them was they have all this dead cap weight. Milano got hurt. Now Bernard got hurt during the season. But none of it seems to matter because Allen's been that good, and maybe he's just going to be this good the whole year, right?
Well, this is the game where it might matter, right? I think we finally are going to see in Baltimore a team that's going to try and take advantage of the injuries in the linebacking core, Taron Johnson's compromise. So
just run the ball down their throats.
They're going to scheme that way for sure.
I've been really impressed by Buffalo's pass rush and just their front in general. Every game it's jumped out. They're
Von Miller, he's alive.
Because Tua, the instinct is to throw away week 2 because Tua got hurt. But by the time Tua got hurt, that game was over. Like they dominated them for 2 hours. So it's probably the second best team. They're kind of the team that I thought Houston was going to be honest. All right, so we'll put them in a teaser leg.
Love it.
And the Ravens hooked us up last week. No disrespect to them.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And they can win, and then they'll be 2-2 in the AFC North.
Well, the other teaser leg. So what's that going to be? Well, I have an idea. How about the fucking Chiefs -7 in LA against the Chargers? And the Chargers, we've ridden a couple times.
Yes.
I have a bunch of future bets on them, but this is a throwaway game. Herbert's probably not playing. I think it'd be crazy to play him. They're missing their 2 best tackles, Joe Alt and Slater.
Yep.
Both those guys are out. James got suspended for their secondary, and then Bosa, like, go figure, he got hurt again. So they're missing not only 5 starters, but 5 of their best 8 players, 5 of their best 7 players.
Right.
And they're in a bye next week. And they've kind of overachieved anyway, right? They're 2-1. And they'll look at this and go, you know what? Let's get to the bye. We were probably not beating the Chiefs anyway, 2-2. This is just a nightmare matchup. And I don't see a scenario where they hang this Taylor Heineke. You rooted for Taylor Heineke. He's going to be running around LA and making plays and doing stuff. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, no chance. Like he's 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage in a cloud of dust. That's the Taylor Heineke experience. It's the only thing that I'll sort of urge as a caution is the lines moved a point in the direction, away from the Chiefs. The Chiefs were -8 at one point. I'm trying to figure out what has happened to pull this down to 7.
I have your answer. I think people have been looking at the Chiefs defense and thinking it's a little House of Cards-ish. That there's a lot of, when they play straight up defense, they're actually like a bottom 8 defense. When they're blitzing and doing stuff and basically using tricks to get pressure, they're better. So it's a lot of like trick stuff with them. I just don't think they're going to need a lot of tricks with the Chargers. The Chargers were having trouble moving the ball last week, with when the tackles were playing.
Yeah.
Do you take out their run game and now you're making Heineke throw to like these subpar receivers?
I guess maybe some of it too is the Chiefs' run defense hasn't been awesome. But I mean, I would think that if you were going to be skeptical of the Chiefs, it would be more on the offensive side of the ball.
Totally.
because
then the other piece is the Chiefs are 3-0 and they're 3 plays away from being 0-3, right?
Yep,
so maybe
true story.
People look at that and I was like, man, that line's pretty high. Harbaugh.
Let's grab all those points.
But
Chiefs historically haven't covered those big numbers. But look, we are in Exotica. We are going to do a tease. We don't need all the points. Just grab it 7 down to 1. That's living life the right way, and push Buffalo up to 8.5 against Baltimore in a 1-score game. Baltimore doesn't blow anybody out. They're definitely not blowing out the Bills. I'm going to knock on wood right now. I don't want to talk it into existence. But that's how we do it, BS.
Well, here's the thing. We missed on the tease last week. Or we didn't do one last week.
We didn't do
one.
We
lost the first 2 weeks, and we have not hit a tease yet. And now, because of these records of the 5.5 and up favorites, like all the teases have been destroyed this season.
They have been.
It's going to be an overcorrection where now everyone's afraid to do the tease. It's like, come on. It's going to be the Chiefs against Easton Stick or Taylor Heineke. They just have to win by 1 point. And the Bills to be in a 1-score game against the Ravens. Yeah. And
plus,
that takes on the tease.
It's your birthday. We're not going to lose.
It's still my birthday week.
It's your birthday week. Did Dave Chang make you some chowder for your birthday?
No, he didn't.
He better save that for when I come out. We can celebrate it together. I want some Chang chowder.
You know what happened to me? I might have to have my dad on to talk about this. And this already happened to you. I am now out of the 18 to 54 TV demo. You know, when they talk about the coveted advertisers demo of 18 to 54?
Right.
I'm out. So what happened?
They don't
did
care
you start
about us
watching
anymore.
the Chicago NBC shows? What happened to you when you hit 55?
NCIS Indianapolis.
You were like, oh, Chicago Fire, and then a brand new Chicago PD. Is that going to happen to me?
Is Law and Order still on us? You know,
I'll be like, oh, Homicides on Peacock. I'm going to bang on season 7 of Homicide. What's going to happen to me? Am I still going to like White Lotus? Am I too old for White Lotus now?
Is LL Cool J still doing that investigative show? That's the one.
Like there's that Fox surfing show. Am I not in the demo for that now? With that new surfing show they have?
I think that's awesome. Those waves are incredible. I could watch that for hours. I'm mesmerized by big waves. Does that make us the wrong
TV
demo?
People are so stupid. Like we all have nice TVs now. Like to have a show with the ocean in HD where like big waves.
Yeah, giant waves.
And
I'll
lifeguards.
Watch that.
Like what took so long? What are these people doing?
It used to be called Baywatch.
So one more thing. FanDuel is having, it used to be called Baywatch, which was an important show of our college days.
Important. Some would say vital.
So FanDuel has, for a featured bet this week, an anytime TD score bet that if you hit, you get a 50% profit boost. So we're just going to add that to our bets.
Plow into that.
Harrison TD plus 100. Is that what we want to do?
I kind of love it. I mean, all you need to do is look at how has the opposing team's best receiver done against the Washington secondary week by week, and it looks pretty effing good. Jamar Chase with 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. Malik Neighbors had an incredible game. Both Godwin and Evans had great games against. I mean, you just have to, at some point you have to accept the free money.
All right, is it time? It's $1 million picks time. So we're going with 4 bets this week, and then the little Harrison thing. Okay.
Well, we built up a nice nest egg with the winnings from last week.
Do you want to scale back at all and do like less than 200K a bet, or you want to keep it at the 200K a bet?
This does not, to me, feel like a big 200K bet kind of week. I mean, I think we're still learning.
Scale back to 150? Should we?
Yeah, there's a lot of injuries out there too.
All right, we'll scale back a little bit. The $1 million picks for week 4. Last week we won $380,000, and it would have been way more, except the Jaguars decided to pull our pants down. I hate the Jaguars. Never again. Notice we didn't even talk about them when we did our $1 million pick. I was like, oh, the Jaguars, 7 against Houston. No, fuck you, Jaguars. No, we're done. We're done with you. Go to your room. Don't come out. You're grounded. We hate you. We are up for the season $504,000 through 3 weeks. That's pretty good. Fake money.
Pretty good. Yeah, not bad.
The $1 million picks for week 4. The Steelers, who have been incredible. They've been our MVPs of $1 million picks.
They have, undoubtedly.
Even you're in now. They're laying -1.5 in Indianapolis to Anthony Richardson, who is the trick-or-treat quarterback, maybe of our generation.
Right now, it's more trick than treat.
It's a lot of tricks and occasionally some treats, and we are going into this fully well knowing there might be one play, maybe two, where he just goes back and he throws it 60 yards and it's in perfect stride. We're betting on all the other plays, the plays you don't see on the red zone, the passes that sail over people's heads.
The leading the league in interceptions.
Yeah, we're betting on the turnovers and on an awesome Steelers D. And House, you're a little bullish on a Fields. Like,
I do think he
giving
might
a
get
little
moving.
more to Fields each week.
Maybe so.
Yeah, we're stacking it up. All right, so we're lowering a little this week just because it's week 4, perennially, 150,000 on the Steelers -1.5. That's our first one. Next one is a little parlay action. The Cardinals playing your Washington team. And the over, which is over, it's like 49.5 or 50, but we're going to bring that over down to 43.5 in the Cards money line. And we're going to parlay that. And it's -101 on FanDuel.
Fine.
And we're jumping on that. Just the Cards need to win by 1 point, and we need 44 points or more total. And these two offenses with no defense on either side. Let's go.
That's right. I don't even feel disloyal going against Washington. You set it up perfectly, coming off the
You're not winning the Super Bowl this year. You just want an awesome Jayden Daniels year and don't get hurt. This is it. Don't get hurt, Jayden Daniels. Keep giving us joy.
The Super Bowl was winning in Cincinnati in week 3 on Monday Night Football in front of a national audience. We've done it.
Right. With Troy Aikman super impressed with the throw in the corner as he just gets annihilated to McLaurin. Yeah. Okay. So we're putting $150K on that. And then because FanDuel has this little special of the 50% profit boost for any sort of touchdown score, we're going to go Marvin Harrison anytime touchdown, which is +100. And we're just going to throw $25K on that for shits and giggles.
Yeah. Get the profit boost.
Yeah, we like you, Marvin. All right, next one. Detroit at home on a Monday night against the Seattle team that can't block anyone, that has defensive line issues, that might not have Kenneth Walker. And Detroit has not really played a good start to finish game. I think it's going to be this week. Detroit first half, Detroit game parlay. I talked you into this.
You
Even
did.
Money, +100 on FanDuel.
Fine.
150K on that. Just take a lead in the first half, Detroit, and take care of business. And you can fart around, and Goff can throw his one stupid pick, and Ben Johnson can have his one terrible 4th down play that Jahmyr Gibbs is running sideways, doing a flip lateral pass, and you can do all that, but just win the game and take a lead in the first half. So that's our third bet. And then the last but not least, we're going back. We're doing a tease. We're not listening to Raheem and everybody else who hates teases, but
no, Raheem likes teases as long as we do it properly.
It's a special week because we have this gift of the Chiefs -7 in LA with 5 of the best 7 Chargers out, including both of their tackles, their safety who runs their secondary, their best sack guy, and their quarterback, who's the star of their team. None of them are playing. We just need the Chiefs to win by 1. We're taking that down from -7, -1. By the way, there's probably going to be 45,000 Chiefs fans at that game. Just going to mention that. We like the Chargers, not the week. They have a bye week next week. Just whatever. We don't care. We'll be 2-2 heading the bye week. Everyone will get healthy. We'll be fine. Chiefs -1. Bills up to +8.5 in Baltimore. 1-score game.
1-score
you
game.
have to say who's going to win that game.
I might be making the case on the Ringer pregame show Sunday morning for the Buffalo money line. I kind of like the Bills on the money line against Baltimore.
That's what's great about that line is I actually think it should probably be a pick 'em or maybe even Bills -1 or somewhere in there. But I think it's a 1-score game. So we're taking Bills +8.5, and that is our tease. So 4 bets this week plus a little Harrison. It doesn't add up to $1 million picks. It doesn't always have to. Sometimes we have to be smart. Scaling it back a tiny bit, 150,000 on the 4 bets plus the little Harrison bet. And those are the $1 million picks for week 4. And Joe House has a quarterback. that we're kind of betting on in this game because we have the over in that game. So you can still root for him to do stuff and not feel bad about it.
Believe me, I will.
House, great to see you.
Thanks, BS. Happy birthday, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.